Blackface minstrel shows were a very popular form of entertainment for over a century. Songs and comedy sketches that sentimentalized Jim Crow traditions were performed by professional entertainers in the United States and internationally. In the early 1900s, vaudeville, burlesque, film, and radio put the professional companies out of business. However, the minstrel tradition continued across the country. In towns large and small, amateur minstrel shows were staged, often as fundraising events for a wide variety of white community organizations. In the Detroit suburb of Mount Clemens, Duane Gerlach was the master of ceremonies for the High 12 minstrel show.
How I got interested in minstrel shows or involved, uh, it goes way back when I was in college at Elmhurst College in Illinois. The Georgian Bay Transit Company owned the boat South American, and it traveled on the Great Lakes 7 days a week in the summer. And I got a job as a bellhop, and I think basically because I was a magician as a hobby, and I would entertain 3 times a week on the shows on board ship. And then I got involved in being master of ceremonies of the shows 7 days a week. And I worked on the South American every summer for 4 summers. And I came back to Mount Clemens, and I joined a club called the Masonic High 12 Club. And this was a luncheon club. It's a national organization like Rotary and Kiwanis. We had several doctors in our organization who acted in our Inman, chief of staff at the Mount Clemens General Hospital. We had anesthesiologist that was in our show. We had a dentist, merchants in the community. We had 2 circuit judges. We had a real good class of membership, which was taken of the whole community. I personally was in the insurance business, and when I first got out of college, I started in the insurance business in 1947, and I'm still semi-retired in it. And we decided as the club we would raise money for the high school's new curtains. And the master ceremonies or interlocutor of the show was the county's prosecuting attorney. And the second year he was in an automobile accident and he would no longer be master of ceremonies. One of the members said, well, why don't you take over as the interlocutor on the shows, or show this year? And how the scripts were done originally was by the members who were inmen. We would have originally 6 inmen, and we would put down jokes that each other had thought about. The original shows were almost done to ad-libbing. And then as the time went in, I think we purchased some scripts to give us a guide on a minstrel show, and we might have used parts of them. And then when we started writing scripts, I subscribed to a service out in New York, and every month I would get joke material. But the scripts that you could buy just weren't local enough for us, and once in a while you'd see jokes in there you could pull out and use, but the script as they were written we never used. One of the jokes that I remember is what do men do standing up? Dogs do on 3 legs, and women do sitting down. And after they would bandy that back and forth for a while, the interlocutor could interject, shaking hands.
What we have is Mr. January singing 5'2". Eyes are blue,
I don't think there was anything racial involved in the scripts we bought or not in the service we used. They were just, there was, on the scripts we bought, I can't recall that anything racial as such was used, except the Inmen would try to put a little of their own change in the way they would say things from ordinary speech to make it maybe more to the black folk, you say, talk.
Did you see that nice suit of clothes Mr. Lasses was wearing this afternoon? Wasn't it a perfect fit?
Fit? It looked more like a convulsion to me.
And we would use the music director from the high school to coordinate the music for the chorus and for the Inmen songs. And we were fortunate in getting local people to form a band for us. And they would afforded the music to accompany the songs of the Inmen and our chorus. And we had the chorus made up of our membership, which could have been at least 30, 40 members as the backdrop. We were very fortunate with the quality of our Inmen, that they would practice their singing and their dancing of the acts, and with the people in the community would come to us, and they were really talented entertainers, and this was hobbies for them coming to our show. And one of the men that was manager of the local Kresge store at that time, he would do a blackface Al Jolson songs, and he would bring the house down because he'd go down on one knee and he would do tremendous shows, and he had a real good professional voice. Our shows would run just about 2 hours altogether, and fortunately we got quite popular, and we had organizations that would come from other communities as a group to see our shows. And we did actually probably about 23 shows. Now, they weren't all minstrel. When minstrel in the community was getting to, they weren't really favorable anymore or looked upon, we thought we better change to a different type of format, and we went to a circus. And the Inmen, instead of being in a blackface, would be in clown dress and clown makeup. And we'd do basically the same format of a show with the Inmen or clowns doing their songs, members from the community doing acts. We had a ballet done by one of the members, ballet teacher for their children. And they'd choreograph the ballet made up of our members with little tutu skirts on and ballet slippers, and they actually did a choreographed ballet scene. Yeah, I used to have a colored lady that used to do my work around the house once a week, and I gave her tickets, and she and her family came to see our shows. We've never had a whole lot of black people come in, and we were never bothered by any pickets or anything derogatory from the community. The principal of the high school at that time didn't feel it was right for us to continue doing minstrel shows. It was just a time that we thought we better change to a different format, such as the clown show. And then he did join our organization. From the minstrel show days to the clown days of show didn't change much as didn't change the banter back and forth between them, except they didn't attempt to use a dialect. Our members got older, and we didn't have the membership to continue, and we just kind of lost interest in it. But it was good for the organization, the club, because it was an activity that we were doing that brought in not only the members but their wives and some of their family to work with us as a community project. Mount Clemens is a relatively small community. It's a mixed race racial town. We have a black community and a white community, basically, both, and they get along fine in the high school and in the town. They've bought or acquired an old house and moved it, and it's quite a nice museum. They've had enough money raised to bring it up to date, and they've decorated the inside of it, and they've collected memorabilia from many people to put in the museum. When we had some tapes of our minstrel shows past, and we wanted to give them to the museum there, the organization, and they really didn't think they wanted them particularly because of the colored faction, that they would be keeping something that the times have changed in the community, and they were a little hesitant in accepting any of our minstrel show days.
By the early 1960s, the civil rights movement caused the end of the organized minstrel show. However, blackface clowning continues to take place occasionally.